Chapter 8 The Show. Just then, the child's stomach growled in hunger. "We'll stop by the kitchen on the way. I'm hungry too anyway," she said as she took the girl's hand. "Be gentle in explaining things to her," June said. "I know how to handle a child, June. If you're not going to wear a corset, at least wear a tight-fitting dress," April said when they got to Aria's room. She then went through her closet. "This will do," she said. A while later, after Aria finished changing, the girl looked at the window and saw that Leah and Mr. Haven were leaving. "Is the lady going to town?" "Yes, everyone's been hunting for that wolf." "Can I come to town with them tomorrow?" April looked at her suspiciously. "Last I heard the townspeople called you a witch's daughter. I know you're old enough to know that they don't exactly have a favorable impression of you. They treat me as well as they are able. You should stay away for now. The village tension isn't exactly harmonious as of this moment. Do you understand? Stay away unless you want to be burned at the stake," April warned, and Aria then nodded in understanding. "Looks like it's about to rain and they just left on horseback," Aria said worryingly. "Perfect, it makes it much easier to put an act." She then looked at April with a puzzled look. Meanwhile, Leah and her father rode into town in the pouring rain. When they arrived, they saw that everyone was heading to the town hall. They then followed and went inside. Their cape and hood dripped with water as they entered. Everyone was noisy and rang bunches, with the priest and sheriff trying their hardest to calm them down. The father and daughter pretended to wonder what the chaotic scene was all about. Leah saw Tyler comforting Emma at the corner. Her eyes narrowed at them as she looked away, pretending to not have noticed. "Sheriff." Mr. Haven spoke in a loud voice, and everyone's attention turned to him and Leah. "Mr. Haven, thank goodness you're here," the sheriff said as he and the priest pulled him aside to tell him about the situation. The priest then explained to him. "Some of the men disobeyed orders and went searching for the mayor last night. And I assumed that the mayor's son was leading them." The sheriff then said begrudgingly, "Yes. Sir, Miss Emma was the first one to inform us when her brother didn't came home last night. Why is it so hard for you people to follow common sense?" Mr. Haven said with a stern expression. "I suppose now they want us to go looking for them," he said rhetorically. The sheriff and the priest looked at each other, and the priest said to him, "We were hoping to gather volunteers in this meeting." While they were talking, Leah was glaring at the whole situation. "Great, they are the ones who created the problem and now we're the ones who has got to clean up." "What did you just say?" Emma yelled. "Say that again." Leah then smiled at her as she lifted her chin. "Gladly. I said, great, they are the ones who created the problem and now we're the ones who has to clean up. You and your brother are a plague of stupidity," she said as she yelled. "This wouldn't have happened if you had just listened. We said, it's late. We'll look for the mayor in the morning. But not only did you disobey, you even took a party with you." "Bravo," Leah said as she clapped sarcastically and with a mocking expression on her face. "It seems to me like you're the actual witch of this town, Emma. How else could you have convinced people to risk their lives on a fool's errand?" Leah said in a daring expression. "You, bitch," she said as she launched at her. "Leah, stop, this is not helping," Tyler said as he grabbed Emma before she could throw herself at Leah. Tyler then gave her a disappointing stare as Emma struggled in his arms. "What? Did I say something wrong? All I did was call out this woman's stupidity along with her brother's. I didn't say anything that wasn't true," Leah said as she crossed her arms, turned her head and stood her ground. "We must all unify at this trying times. And work together for the greater good," the priest said. "Father, I understand keeping the peace, but one must take responsibility for their own actions. Especially when it involves the lives of others. And I think that I speak for everyone when I say that someone has to be held accountable for this," Leah said as she glanced at Emma. The room fell silent before the doors were slammed open, accompanied by the wind and rain. "Master," Two beautiful women with elegant gowns and soaked capes yelled frantically. Augustine, Octavia. What's the matter? Why did you rush out here? Is it an emergency? Leah said worryingly. Mistress, some of the girls went to go collect firewood on the edge of the forest this morning and disappeared. We can't find them, we looked everywhere. Octavia said as she gasped for air. If you like this story so far, like, comment, and subscribe so we can reach 1,000 subscribers. And if this video gets enough views and subscribers, it will give me motivation to write season 2. Are you sure you searched the whole castle? Mr. Haven said vehemently. Yes, my lord. We've been searching all morning. Augustine said regretfully. How many of you are missing? The sheriff asked. Nova, Snow, Juliet, Aster, Autumn, and Winter. Augustine, if 6 of you are missing, and the 2 of you are here. I assume that the other 4 are in the castle, right? Leah asked worryingly. Holly and June are taking care of the madam. April and May had gone back to their chores per the madam's orders. You came here in the carriage? Mr. Haven asked. Yes, sir. Augustine nodded. Take Leah back with you. We'll start searching as soon as the rain dies down. I need some men to accompany them and come back here after they return safely. Mr. Haven said. Anyone? He said irritably as no one came forward. You rather go searching in the woods where a wolf is, rather than make sure these women are safe? I'll escort them, sir. Tyler said as he raised his hand. You guys go with Tyler, the sheriff said as he ordered a few men to go along with them. Let's go, my lady? Tyler said as he opened the door for Leah. She then got her horse, then Tyler said. You will be a lot safer in the carriage. I know, but I'm not leaving him here. Unless you want to ride him until we get to the castle. She said as she handed him the reins. Tyler, wait. Leah said as she handed him her cape after she got in the carriage. Don't get sick. Thank you, my lady, he said as he accepted her cape and shut the door of the carriage. They then went to the castle with the rest of their entourage. Leah watched as Tyler and the men went back to town to help in the search. It took days to find the mangled bodies in the woods. After wild animals got to them first. After the sheriff, along with Mr. Haven and the priest, ordered that no one is allowed to leave their homes after dark. Each time a search party went into the woods, 1 or 2 men always go missing. No. Emma went hysterical when she saw her brother's dead body. People cried hysterically when their loved ones' remains were brought back all mangled and ripped to pieces. We buried the body parts that remained. Luckily, some heads were found, including Emma's brother Edward. It rained heavily that day when we buried them. Another gathering was held at the town hall after the funeral. Sheriff Gale stated with heavy heart that it was unlikely that we would find the girls' remains along with the mayor and declared them dead. After he spoke, the priest then gave a prayer to get the people through the trying times. Father stayed behind to talk to the priest and the sheriff, while my mother and I along with June and the others and Arya went ahead. The girl kept her head down in order not to attract any attention to herself. I caught Tyler's glance and we locked eyes. He and I haven't spoken in days since he dropped me off at the castle. He then gestured for us to talk. I turned to my mother and said, You go ahead, I'll catch up. Remember to be back before dark. She said as she got on the carriage with Arya and the others before they rode off. We then went to talk by the woods. If you are going to blame us for the disappearances, save it. People have been disappearing in this town before we got here. I said with a defensive stance. I was just going to ask on how you're holding up. I raised my eyebrow at his words. You're seriously not going to ask me any question? I said in a sarcastic tone. Just one. He said with a serious face. Go ahead. How many people have you killed since you got here? A few, including the mayor. I said in a nonchalant manner and a monotone voice. Did you also kill Edward and his search party? I smiled and said, yes, and no. We run into that wolf of yours. Or should I say lion with horns. It nearly killed all our vamps along with June. Luckily, half of them managed to get away. Now it's my turn. Why didn't you? Why did you say that it was a wolf? You fought with it that night at the Harvest Festival. Yet you never mentioned that it looked like a lion. Is it your pet? I asked rhetorically with a smile. I then shook my head, smiled and said, don't pretend to have clean hands, Tyler. You know we are wolves in sheep's clothing. Despite how well you may try to hide it. You're wrong. He said vehemently. Strange, just a few days ago you were thanking me for saving your life. Despite knowing that I'm a vampire. What changed since then, besides the more frequent disappearances? You found out something, didn't you? He then asked with a sorrowful expression. Were you there when Edward was killed? Unfortunately no, we don't hunt ourselves. We leave that to the vamps. He then sighed in relief. As we went our separate ways, I couldn't help but ask why he seemed so tense. Like this story, comment, and subscribe to be notified when the next chapter comes out.